governor track, particularly the nominee, decided it would be best to have the, I guess, the cloud of the district governor's track, making the contact and talking to these clubs. And quite frankly, what we found, it sounds very similar to what you just described. There's this whole variety of clubs. We have a handful that aren't basically the older, sometimes more rural, quite frankly, clubs that don't seem to be doing much of anything. Some clubs that are trying, some clubs that have started very slowly but have come on. And one club not too far away from me has actually gone to the step of starting to meet in person again with social distancing and all that sort of thing in a large facility so they can spread out. They just started that within the last week, which surprised me a little bit. It's the only one I know of in our district. Kevin, I don't know if you are aware of any.
No, not yet. I know Newark is going to start again in August.
Yeah, this was Victor Farmington is actually starting to meet in person again. And which again was a little bit of a surprise. But again, what you said, Bill, it's pretty much very similar in our district.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's funny you say I actually am going to an in-person club installation next week. They're going to do it. They're actually going to do it outside in a park. Hopefully the weather's fine, but that is their plan. And even my club, we're just waiting to see when the restaurant will open up to see what's going on. Anybody else? So thank you, Scott. Kimmy.
So we are District 7190, and out of 41 clubs, we've had 22 responses on who's meeting and who's not meeting. We've had actually some of our clubs are very successful with fundraisers and reaching out and getting their hands dirty in the community. We've actually seen a little bit more of clubs joining together to do service projects like serving food from the regional food bank. So our clubs who are always active are still remaining active.
Yeah.
Our older clubs who are happy just to be together are sticking together. So those clubs are those who have not responded. We've had some in-person new member inductions, which I thought was really, really cool. They spread out at somebody's house and were able to induct the new members and give them their pins and their plaques and their t-shirts and everything. One of the things that I'm working on for next Tuesday is our president-elects that are coming in is gathering them all together to talk about Zoom and how are we going to live with Zoom and the new face of Rotary in 2021. How are we going to fundraise? Why should we use websites? So they can all collaborate together. So we're hoping that those 22 clubs that are not responding, the new president-elect is a fresh person coming in, hopefully that they will be engaged and be excited and have like a team of people that they can work with rather than feeling like they're left alone through Zoom.
Thanks, Kimmy. So let me ask you, excuse me, how are you communicating with the clubs, right? How is everybody communicating with their clubs are you doing it on a regular basis? How are you communicating with the clubs to find out what they're doing and to keep up to date with, at least have that interaction, not only from us as membership, as people, membership chairs and whatnot, but from a district level to keep people engaged.
So we talked to,
I'll come to you next, Martin.
I try to reach out to the clubs, and I'm very lucky that we actually have an assistant for me in the district, and he emails them back and forth and just make sure he keeps contact with them. Our district governor elect's been sending a lot of stuff through, and the district governor talks to them often. So we do reach out and try to touch base with them, but my assistant actually gets me all the information that I really need to be able to go back to the clubs and talk to them.
Thanks, Kimmy. Martin? Herb, I'll come to you next. I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, thank you. We're kind of in a unique position at 7230 being in the epicenter of this COVID crisis for the bulk of the time. Most of our clubs are very, very busy working on COVID projects. We took the RI grant and doubled it with repurposed money from the district, more than doubled it, and actually did a calculation recently of about $260,000 worth of funds and services raised in our district to help with COVID. I took it on myself to do a survey about a month ago of the clubs, the 44 clubs in the district. I got a 50% response, which I thought was pretty good since everybody is very busy. One club was dark. out of the 22 that responded. Everybody else was using Zoom or some other platform. Interestingly enough, back in January, I was speaking in Staten Island and talked about Zoom and hybrid clubs and its usefulness in building membership. And they looked at me like I was an alien from another planet. What happened is now 80% of those who responded indicated that they were going to continue using Zoom after the COVID crisis allowed them to meet in person in one way, shape, or form. And it's really been a very strong push into the 21st century that very un-Rotarian in terms of its swift uptake. It's fast and furious, but it's making me smile. As far as membership goes, I also surveyed the same people and asked them whether or not they thought this COVID crisis would result in any change in their membership. And 4 of the clubs reported they expected the membership to remain stable. The other balance of the clubs reported they expected about 16 fewer members and 17 greater members. So in essence, consensus is about the same. Our district experienced phenomenal growth last year without this COVID crisis. Our clubs are adapting. The Metro Club that Cecily belongs to pinned a few members recently online. Pembroke in Bermuda has done the same thing. All over the district, we have people that are joining online. And as a result, I think our rapid response to the new member leads program has kicked in nicely. People are accepting it and they're responding to these leads, whereas before they were very slow in the uptake. Now they get it. And our communication, Bill, to answer the last question you asked that Kimmy answered, it's being done by our phenomenal DGE, Mary Shackleton, who's been showing up worldwide on webinars.
She sure does.
Rotary.
She sure
really
does,
is
boy.
Fantastic.
That woman has a lot of energy, boy.
And our DG Mahbub is now considering himself PDG for pandemic district governor because of the way he responded. We really have had an interesting year, something nobody ever expected.
Thanks, Martin. Herb.
Sure. Well, I think your question was, how are we communicating with the clubs to ensure that that we know what's going on?
Right.
We've been doing that mostly through our assistant governors and myself, because I'm for at least for 2 more weeks, I'm still the governor. So, but we've been kind of doing it multi-pronged, and honestly, out of 45 clubs, we have 1 club that hasn't been meeting, and we know that because we literally have talked to all 45 clubs, but they're not all equal. Okay, right. Some of them are flourishing in this environment. Some of them are growing. Some of them are saying, well, we're not going back to the way it was before. Many of them are saying that. But some of them, you know, they say they're meeting, and a couple of weeks ago, I went to a club's meeting to present an award, and the club has 30 members, and 5 of them were there. So I was very concerned. So they're not all equal. Just because they say they're meeting, that doesn't mean that they're all equal. So we're just trying to keep our finger on the pulse of where they are. We actually kind of did a red, yellow, green in our district, and we've identified 4 clubs that are red right now, and we need to work on. And I think one of the ways we're going to do it is through clubs that are nearby that are flourishing in this, and we're going to try to pair them up.
So you've done like a stoplight, red, yellow, green.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming obviously the green ones are everything's good. The yellow ones are fine. So what are you and Marty, maybe you want to kick in on the one club that you went to. What are you do with the red ones? What are you doing for them? Are you doing anything, support, resources?
Well, we've identified them at this point. And we actually had a district meeting last night, and we were talking about what do we do about these 3 or 4 clubs, and how do we engage them. I mean, I heard a common theme that people said that well, this is an older club. And to be honest with you, there's one club, where as district governor, every week in the paper mail, I would get their agenda. So, you know, it's in rural America, and this is what they do. And they're not interested in technology. So what we're doing now is we're reaching out to the president-elect, because the current president isn't really responding, and we think the president-elect will be more responsive. And 5 miles down the road, there's a club that's just flourishing in this environment. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get the leadership of the one club to attend the meetings of the other club, just to see what's possible. Those are the kinds of things that I think we're going to start doing initially.
Good. Martin, how about you guys?
Yeah, Bill, great question. We too have offered the technology and the assistance from the district leadership to help people ramp up to the technology that they need to go online. Several of the AEGs have taken on the responsibility of buying Zoom accounts for themselves and have offered their local clubs the use of these accounts, so that, because our district has 3 accounts that we offered to the clubs, but those were booked up. So, yeah. You know, but there are going to be people who are not going to adapt to the technology, and a meeting of 5 this week might have 15 next week. But most of the clubs are telling me they're getting pretty good attendance, at least 50% of their normal in-person attendance. And in certain cases, when they have a speaker, they're getting very, very good attendance online. So I think there's a good future in that. Reaching out to them, it's important, but I think there's going to be a couple of cases, Bill, where we need to start new clubs in those areas and find the people who are willing to adapt to the modern form of Rotary.
I would agree. I mean, you know, Cecily, I'm going to come to you, and Larry, I see that you're unmuted, so I'll come to you after I come to Cecily. But Martin, I agree. I think that, you know, sometimes crisis creates new opportunities. So that's exactly one of those situations. Cecily.
End of April, the Innovative Club team surveyed all the DGs in our zone and zone 28, and talked about the results at a meeting with the DGs end of April, shared the spreadsheet back to Valerie and Jeffrey. Some districts all had plans. Some districts did not and said they were struggling. Now a month, 6 weeks on, they might be well underway and okay, but I'm happy to share back to the DMCs if your district was one of the ones that said, hey, we've got some issues, or we've got particular challenges, whether it's social media or meeting or whatever. It was a survey about a number of what are we doing right now questions. So I can, send you back that information. And I'm also going to share in the chat box, there's a Rotary Club that gathered a database of clubs from around the world that are meeting online. So you can add your own club to this list, or you can just go anywhere else. And it's a nice tool to share with your clubs as something, they're not sure what to do with all their meetings. Maybe they've got speakers, maybe there's chat for fellowship. Throw them a challenge of, hey, why don't you guys go somewhere else in the world for a Rotary meeting and join somebody else's online meeting? So I'm popping the link in the chat box right there, but it's also another reason to reach out to your clubs as to say, hey, did you know this, visit somebody else. It just makes it a little interesting.
Thanks, Cecily. Larry.
Okay, so 7210 is similar to Marty. We are in what we like to think is ground zero of the pandemic. Lower Hudson Valley, New York, the 8 counties that we're in, we had the highest per capita incidence of COVID-19 in the country as a group of 8 counties. A matter of fact, when we look at the per capita cases per 1,000 population, we ranked #1 in the world and #1 in the United States. Granted, New York City has, let's say, 40,000 cases, but 8.5 million population. We had close to 20,000 cases in my county for 320,000. So we were right up there. But God bless it, 55 clubs. We only have 1 club that's been dark, and that was a club that was on life support to begin with. So what some of our clubs have been doing is they've been reaching out to members of other clubs that are not really going online, and they're inviting them to their Zoom meetings. Our AGs have purchased, as Bill had suggested, our AGs purchased Zoom accounts. And if you're not aware of it, there is a Rotary discount for Zoom through Rotary Global Rewards. When you check out, just type in Rotary Zoom and you get a 20% discount. So pass that on to your clubs and your AGs. But we're plugging away. We're starting to come up with new means of having on-site meetings. One of our clubs, mine in particular, we're having a drive-in movie night. We have a large screen, a projector. We're going to sit around in our cars, socially distant, and we're going to set up pop-up tents and tables with food. And each car will go out and they will get their food and we'll socialize in that manner. So there are ways of doing it. There are ways of doing it. And we just finished a 4-week series of district assemblies, Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock, and we had great response to that. We had some famous people there, and it's just, a lot of our clubs are going to the hybrid model, 2 in-person meetings and 2 Zoom meetings a month. And the members love it.
So thank you. So Gary, you want to come on?
Yes. So I want to tell you, I work with Herb in 7430 District.
We won't hold that against you.
He has been a great governor, great leader this past year. Really inspired me to move along. I know you're joking, Bill.
I am. Herb and I are good friends.
We have taken a regional approach to our 44 clubs. And now we're at 46 now, right, Herb? Is that right? With the 2 more we just did in the last 2 days. But the regional approach, I'm the chairman, membership chair, and Herb and Dave Zarnecki are helping me out as co-assistant chairs, if you will. And we've broken this up into smaller groups, so it's much more manageable for us to handle 15 or 16 clubs as opposed to handling all 44 like they've been done in the past. Herb somehow did it when he was membership chair a couple of years ago, but I think it's a daunting task to do that. What Martin said about a speaker, I think, is truly key, because the question here is, why do they go dark? Why do these clubs go dark? I mean, is it just because of the pandemic we're in? And just speaking from our experience, I'm right now the president of the Harleysville Club, and we've had an increase in the number of members, and we've carried it through. We had approximately 32 or so that showed up at our in face-to-face meetings, and we now have about 36, 37 that come to every one of our virtual meetings. So what we felt was very, very important to get to every club is that they should have a structured meeting. Like Martin said, they had a speaker, and it was an interesting speaker. It has to have the same format. It has to have the pledge. It has to have the invocation. It has to have all those things. And I'm finding with a couple of clubs that I've contacted that they've sort of dropped away from that. Like the virtual meetings all of a sudden made something totally different. So if each of these clubs would have a structured meeting with a speaker, an interesting speaker, I think we would have fewer clubs going dark. And not that we have a tremendous amount here, it doesn't seem, but I do think that having a structured meeting goes a long way into preventing that from happening.
So let me ask you this, Gary. You made a good point. You said that it may not be technology being the sole reason, or the reason for them going dark. What are you finding maybe the other reasons, and everybody else jump in where you can?
Like I just said, I think that I'll go to, I don't know if I should pick on anybody here, a club. I'm not going to mention any club's name, but they're struggling, and they went from maybe 15 or 18 people showing up at their meeting to have 6 or 7. So I was actually supposed to be at their meeting tonight to try to help them out, but I thought this was a little bit more important right now. So that's the main reason, I think. I think a structured meeting is very important with a speaker or even a classification talk, but you can't do too many of them in a row either. Is some of the reasons why these clubs are going dark or reducing the number of attendees.
Thoughts, anybody? We've had a couple of Martin, and
Yeah.
we're not going to let Martin or Cecily, we need everybody else to come in as we go along. But Martin, go ahead, and then we'll come
I'll
to
shut up
Cecily.
after this, I promise.
Yeah, I didn't mean for you to shut up.
We were very fortunate. We have 2 E-clubs in our district, and the older one, the Wall Street E-club, is a very gentle club with a fair amount of members that reside in Europe. They hold their meetings in English, and they're very welcome to anyone sitting in on their meetings. So we suggested to people to start out by visiting their meeting to get a feel for how Zoom meetings went as far as structure goes. And you give up the singing because you can't possibly all sing unless you're lucky enough to have one person playing the piano or violin, as some clubs are. A good example of this is the Peak Skill Club in our district that has a phenomenal protocol list that they go through on Zoom. It's as if you were there. And White Plains is another one. But Wall Street in particular, very gentle entree into Zoom meetings for people. And once they went and sat in on Wall Street, they felt much more comfortable about trying it out on their own. And then, you go through the typical things where somebody can't get on, can't unmute, and they holler, or there's a dog barking in the background, all of that stuff. Until a couple of meetings down the road, things start to work a lot more smoothly.
Sure. Cecily?
Real quickly, just a lot of the DGs surveyed and a lot of the clubs I've been speaking to, they find they get a better response at Zoom meetings often, like in a better turnout, because it's so much easier. It's a click of a button. It's not making time to go somewhere, stay for a whole meal, have to come home. They can just fit it in wherever they are. So often it gets a good turnout, and often they find they ask past Rotarians, scholars they know, other friends, and that same feeling. It's a free meeting that's easy to get to. So by reaching out, they get a better turnout. And one thing I just like to say, having a structure to the meeting is sometimes good, but it's also sometimes for some clubs something to think about. Not everything translates well online that would happen well in an in-person meeting. So it might be something to talk about with clubs. What really works best? What of their traditional meeting things work? What might we have to be willing to change and adapt while we're meeting online? And just being open to shift the format so it's not chaos, but shift your format a little bit to something that works for your online meeting.
I would agree. So, Larry makes a good point. If you guys are watching the chat box, Larry made a really good point about the meetings don't have to be met at you don't have to do it at a traditional time. I know ours always was at 12:15. We've moved it up to on the hour at 12, and we're done usually in far less time than an hour. But that's to Cecily's point, Larry's point. I will tell you the funny thing, we have one Rotarian in our club who always at the club meetings always has a martini. It's her one martini a week. She has it even from home now. So she always puts it up. Yeah, there we go. Alexander's got his. Once a week she has her martini. I'm gonna go, Kimmy, I'm gonna come to you, and then Andy, I'm gonna get you, since you're current sitting district governor, I'm gonna come to you after Kimmy's done. Okay?
So one of the things that we found actually in our club that has been very, very successful is we're joining other clubs to hold meetings, and we're asking for speakers to come from all over Rotary to speak with us. And we actually started, so we Zoom our meeting, and at the same time, we are recording it Facebook Live. So we are actually getting so many people who are actually joining our meeting that way. And we actually have gained 6 members in our pipeline because they've seen it on Facebook Live. They're interested in the speakers. Things are relevant, and our meeting time is still the same. And instead of singing, we are playing a video of a song because I have a very old school singing club, which they do sing still. We tried it. It didn't work. We nixed it. But that's a couple things that actually have been very successful for our club. So that's another option for people to reach a new market by being on Facebook Live and through Zoom. You know, somebody might just pop on, or they're going to see it later and they're like, oh, what is this Rotary thing? So we tag ourselves in it. Everybody in our club tags it, so then that's getting shared with their friends, and their friends can see it, and they make a comment, and then so it's just passed on, and it's been unbelievable to watch our numbers just grow from our meeting that way.
Good stuff, Kimmy. And District Governor Andy, how are you, my friend?
Good evening. Sorry, I apologize for being late. It was my district's business meeting tonight. The good news is it was the fastest business meeting ever. 15 minutes, bam, done. So we have 41 and a half clubs, primarily in Maine, a few in New Hampshire. And we don't seem to have the same difficulties or challenges some of you have. All our clubs are live, having virtual meetings. The longest any club was dark was 2 weeks. We have no problem with that. We have some members who have gone dark, but on the flip side, we have been able to pick up snowbirds and other past members who otherwise could not participate. So I think that for us is evening out. So the virtual meetings are working very well for us in 7780. We have some clubs that are growing. Many clubs in our meetings are having more attendees than they had when they were having in-person meetings, including my club. So that's very, very gratifying. Why did this happen? I communicate with my presidents intensely, every single week or more. We have a very close relationship. I think I'm on my email to them, number 62, and we Zoom together almost every week now since March 15th. So communication, messaging is working for us. I'm here tonight because I am the incoming membership chair for my district, although in our district we call it the Grow Rotary Team. So
there you go.
Thank you, Bill.
Very, very cool, Andy. I apologize. I see Essex 627. Did you want to join in? I'll come back to you, Alexander, in a minute.
My name is Lorraine Faraday. I'm the current president for a few more minutes for the Scott and Newcastle Club, and the co-chair of the growth committee this coming year with Andy Glazer.
There you go. There we go. Well, congratulations. So, Alexander.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to give you a quick update from 7930, Northeastern Mass and Southern New Hampshire. So we have 47 clubs. Out of our 47 clubs, we have 5 that have not been meeting online. And one of those 5 has actually started in-person meetings 2 weeks ago because they only have 7 members, so they fall below the threshold of 10-member maximum. And I guess that's okay. Of all the clubs that have been meeting online, we've seen tremendous success stories with really a large majority of them that range from bringing back Rotary Youth Exchange students who had already left our district and gone back home, and the clubs that hosted them brought them back for online Zoom calls. We've had tremendous fundraisers, and I really love the idea of the live streaming to Facebook. I think I'm going to suggest that to our own club, as well as to a few other clubs in our district, as a way to gain more members. But we've seen those clubs who actually really embrace technology to be able to be not just alive and not dark, but be really vibrant and make a meaningful impact for their communities. So overall, it's all positive, but we also have a negative member growth of 77 members this year. So there's a lot of work for us cut out for the coming year.
Thanks, Alexander. Hey, Eric, you've been awfully quiet. What are you doing?
Bill, I'm never quiet. You know that. So from District 7850, which is northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and southern Quebec. We've got only 3 clubs that are, sporadically meeting, and basically it's probably because they're technology challenged. But we're also finding out is some people are getting Zoom fatigue. Everybody's kind of jonesing to meet in person, especially now that the nice weather has finally arrived for us. People want to get back to being live, so to speak, in person. So we're finding that's a bit of a struggle because the district leadership is getting asked, can we meet? Can we meet? What are we allowed to do? They're looking for guidance on that. And right now our district is basically saying, no, you really shouldn't. We're not, as a district, we're not meeting in person yet either. So we're kind of leading by example in that respect. Following the governor of Vermont's and New Hampshire's rules of meeting. So we're kind of letting them know what we're doing as a district. For example, our changeover installation is going to be via Zoom. So we're doing that. I know a lot of clubs really want to meet in person, and I was kind of surprised to hear that quite a few were actually starting to do that. Even my own club is struggling really hard not to meet in person because they miss that contact. It will come. I think it's just we got to be patient. Thank God for Zoom technology. I think it's really given us a boost, and I think it's a tool that we'll be using well into the future, even when we're back face to face.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything that hasn't already? I mean, we've had Gary and Herb and Martin and Cecily and Larry. Linda, you want to go? Linda,
Yeah.
You want to come in, and then I'll come to you, Ron. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm DGE. And so I've been trying to go to the clubs that are on Zoom. And I found that some of them that I've just gotten to, they're already going in person. They're already meeting in person. I'd say there's half a dozen already doing that. And but I thought it was really good the other night. I was at a Zoom meeting, and they said they want to have a social the week after. And this one man said, well, please keep the Zoom. I don't feel comfortable going out, And I think that's what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of this hybrid of Zoom meetings that are also in person. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do my council meeting, the advisory council, because I don't know, maybe we'll do it in person, but bring along the technology so people that didn't want to travel out. But I'm seeing we have 66 clubs, and I say only a handful have not done something with technology. And when I try to get a hold of them or something, they're already meeting in person. There's the smaller ones, and they're in the what did I say? We go from Lake Ontario almost to the southern tier of Pennsylvania, and so the ones down south, they're smaller. They're meeting in person, and so it's been interesting. But I've also found I'm going to do my club visits as area visits, and when I talk to the clubs, at a club, there's somebody from a different club because their club wasn't meeting. And so they joined in, which makes me happy because that's what the whole point,
Sure.
Have an area will be bringing everyone together. So I think there's a lot of positives going on right now for communication in our district, 7120.
Good. Thank you, Linda. Ron, how about you? You're still on mute. There you go.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. Ron Holtz from 7980, which is about half of Connecticut. And, we have 57 clubs, and, most are meeting. I also have heard a lot about, Zoom fatigue. But we had a meeting last night as far as, with ideas to, actually a district meeting for ideas to come up with virtual fundraisers, and which is really good. And a lot of our clubs are doing fundraisers. It just keeps things going. We had some clubs are doing some things for Father's Day. One of the clubs did a rose sale for Mother's Day. I think they raised about $5,000 selling roses for Mother's Day. So that keeps them engaged as far as as far as having something to do for fundraising, because that's definitely going to be an issue. So we're coming up with all different kind of ideas of things that the clubs can do. We've had good growth through the year, and hopefully it's going to continue. I'm just concerned. June 30. This is be my third year as district membership chair. I'm concerned. Obviously, June 30th is when you lose people, and that's a concern for me as far as who's gonna stay with it, and
right.
And hopefully we're having we're talking to all the clubs about that. Keep in touch with all the members, not just those who show up for your meetings. That's it.
Thanks, Ron. Judith, I see you unmuted yourself.
I did, thank you. Hey, everybody. I see lots of familiar faces. How are you? Woo! I've been taking notes. Thank you so much. I was having a little district membership chair envy as I'm hearing so many success stories. When you talk about who went dark, well, unfortunately, our district governor went dark.
Yeah.
And it's been not good. Very difficult year to start, and then just no leadership. It's been a real challenge and a struggle, and we've had 2 clubs disband before the COVID, and now another club disband. We're down 68 members. So Alex, I was not glad to hear, but at least there's somebody else that's down negative numbers, which is very disappointing. However, here's the things that we're doing. We had a Zoom district-wide membership orientation in the digital age training session. And we had 100 people who attended, which for our district was a big deal. We can't get 100 people to our assembly. And that was very well received, and people were handing it off to others, and we recorded it. And now Cecily is joining us. Hi, Cecily, on July 1st, and she's doing her fundraising Zoom, and we've sent out that invite. So we're keeping this whole Zoom thing going because people are showing up and they're hungry for ideas in this digital age. The other thing that we're doing is hopefully a survey. We really haven't surveyed our members, but it's curious to know who has gone dark. And that's been very difficult to gather that information because we even have AGs that have gone dark. So we're really struggling in our district. I appreciate all the help that people have given, and thanks for all the great ideas.
Thank you, Judith. We can do anything to help you. We would love to. Hello, Kate Sims. I see you came on. Martin, go ahead, unmute.
Yeah, Ron, you mentioned something about keeping in touch with members, particularly those who've gone dark. We started something in telling clubs all along the line that if they surveyed their members who showed up and saw who were the ones who didn't show up, that they should create a telephone tree or an email tree to immediately reach out to these members. Sort of a welfare check, but to let them know that they were missed. And surprisingly enough, people responded, gee, I didn't know how to get on Zoom. I really had no idea. I was afraid to go on Zoom. And reach out and give them that hand. They brought their membership on Zoom up 20 or 30% just by reaching out. And it's always a good idea to find out what's going on in people's lives in your membership and keeping them engaged.
It's always a good idea to pay. I think we sometimes forgot how to pick up the phone, and call people, and easily just, relied on email too much. And it's always been my contention that the Rotary's always been about a personal connection and to pick up the phone and talk to them. We want to be respectful of your time. So what I'm going to do now is you can all open up if you want. What I want to talk about is a couple of takeaways that you've had, maybe some action points that you're going to take that we could share with our clubs or the clubs in your districts about what we talked about. Missy, how about you? What's your takeaway?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Missy Garlisi with 7950. I'm just coming on as the new district chair for the membership as of in 7950 as of July 1st. So this is my first larger format meeting with all the chairs. So it's great to see you all. Thank you so much for all the ideas. It's wonderful. I do see some familiar faces from Zone and some various other things. So thank you for this plethora of information. This is like drinking from a fire hose for me. I've written down a lot of things, and I'm looking forward to meeting with my committee, which is relatively similar to the past 3 years. We've gained a lot of momentum. Like a lot of the other districts, we're seeing just a handful of clubs go dark. So, my takeaway is that there are so many ideas out here to look at and to think about. And I'll be talking with our new DG, Charlene Jarst, and the outgoing membership committee chair, Billy Roberts, who will then be our DGE in 7950. So one thing I just wanted to mention, again, we're experiencing a lot of these same things in 7950, is that some of our larger clubs in the district, and we are southeastern Massachusetts, so south of Boston to include Cape Cod, the islands, and all of Rhode Island, we have about roughly 1,950 members. We're finding that this breed is not the appropriate word, but there's this group of younger Rotarians, by younger I mean under the age of 40, who are finding this format a lot more appealing, and they're thinking about now maybe branching off and developing satellite clubs, which is really exciting because I think every district governor wants to see satellite clubs launch. And we've also been able to add a lot of new members, but we've lost some members as well. So my takeaway is the help that all of you can offer to me and 7950, and I thank you all for that. So it's great to see everyone.
Thanks, Missy. Eric, you're unmuted. What was your takeaway?
I think, I was talking about Zoom fatigue. We might be doing Zoom meetings for our work or for other things in our lives other than Rotary. So you do get kind of Zoom fatigue staring at a screen all the time. I think we need to remember to keep Rotary fun. And that can be done in various ways, even on Zoom. You could have a Zoom cocktail party or other things I've heard of. So I think keeping it fun and keeping it a little bit light helps with the Zoom fatigue a little bit. So, we started in our club reaching out to the folks who are not comfortable with Zoom. And if they're not comfortable, invite them over to your house, or if it's 2 people, you can probably, share one computer, things like that. So my takeaway is to keep Rotary fun and enjoyable. A lot of clubs have been talking about all of the crazy things going on in the world. I think it's a good time of year to start planning for the future. The future is bright, and I think we need to be uplifting in our presentations and thinking that as we plan for this upcoming Rotary year, that's going to be a very successful year for all our Rotarians. So that's my takeaway and my message, I guess. Bill, thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Hey, Larry, why don't you read what you put into the chat box? I think that what you've said is really important as a takeaway.
Okay, now that my club is meeting on Zoom, I've reached out to past members that left for one reason or another. Some of them are rejoining our club or possibly our newly forming Passport Club. If you're on Club Runner, that list of ex-members exists. Matter of fact, when we started forming the Passport Club, I did a mass mailing to 1,625 former district Rotarians. That's where I got my initial 15 people for the Passport Club. I still don't have my 20, but the first 15 people that are joining all came from that former member list.
That's terrific. Thanks, Larry. Who else? Anybody have anything else? Janet. I see you, Janet. I'm trying to do 20 screens here and figure out who's next.
Bill, thank you. Janet Jocelyn, District 7150, around Syracuse in Central New York. And my takeaways, I echo Missy. I picked up so many wonderful ideas. Thank you all for them. And I will incorporate them in my strategies this next year. But from listening to everyone, it reminds me that Rotary remains a wonderful way to stay connected to others. Even though we're virtual, even though we're using Zoom and so forth, we still can stay connected through Rotary. Rotary remains a place we can still be of service to others. Our service to others isn't stopped. Think of all the wonderful COVID projects that are being offered, like our satellite club is doing a live Zooming concert in dedication to their essential workers in the community. I mean, there's so many creative, wonderful things that are going on where we remain being of service to others in the community. And the last thing that all of you have reminded me of is that Rotary is here for the long term. I mean, this is just a little snippet of where we are. I mean, we're here for the long term. So thank you all for everything that you mentioned tonight.
Thanks, Janet. One other person, if want to make a comment or a takeaway? Martin?
Just to urge you all to share, collaborate, make it all fun. You see something, share it on the Rotary Zone 2832 Facebook page. Try to post stuff on there that I pick up from my district 7230. Like our district 7230 page, like our district 7230/Bermuda page. You'll pick up some ideas about, for example, our summer university series, which is a series of seminars that are given by almost famous Rotarians, Larry. The Rotary Pathfinder series, Cecily's very familiar with that. She's helped set it up. It's been a weekly thing where we've had some very, very good speakers on Zoom, and sharing that across that platform to all of you is a real privilege for all of us. So if you can post your things on our pages, we'll post on our pages and share it with you. We can get these ideas every day.
Terrific. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Martin. Thanks everybody for participating. And I'll say that, Missy, you're right. Even I was writing down a bunch of stuff myself, to just kind of go back and just kind of refresh. It's always good when we get together and we share these things, because sometimes the thing, but you've forgotten it, and you hear it again, you go, oh yeah. So thank you all for participating, and I'm going to turn it back over to Melissa to close out.
Well, thanks, guys. The timing is perfect, because I guarantee my daughter's going to pull in about 5 minutes, and the dogs are going to start barking like crazy. So I will try to be quick. One, did you enjoy this? And is this something that you would like to see done quarterly? You can just, okay. So we'll aim for this quarterly. I think monthly would be like overwhelming. So maybe a quarterly meeting around the zone. Good job, Scott. July, let's see, what did I get up here? So our next meeting, our DMC training event that will feature Kate and Herb and Cecily. I'm missing somebody. Oh, yes, Bill, sorry. That will be on June 30th. At 7 p.m. and we're going to experiment with breakout rooms. So the idea is for us to meet collectively like this, and then I will create 4 breakout rooms. You will get to pick a topic. You'll be in the breakout room for about 30 minutes, and then we can take a quick break, and then you can switch breakout rooms and use and sit for another half hour on a different topic. Because of the amount of material that RI has for us, we do need to schedule a second date. So I was throwing like maybe July 21st out there. Does that? And if you want to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down in an email, feel free. But I spoke to Valerie. I know that she is looking forward to trying to meet up with you guys, and she can't do the 7th. And I have a note here that says that Martin can't do the 14th. So that's how I decided on the 21st. If that does not work for anybody, let me know. And that's really it. I really want to thank everybody for taking the time to have just a quick little meet and greet. Larry, your background is my favorite. Good night, Moon. Oh, here it is.
There you go. Right on cue. Right on cue.
The dogs out.
It's good night Zoom, Melissa.
Zoom.
Larry, that was my favorite book that I read to my kids. So that was fabulous. So guys, I am going to let you go. So you don't have to listen to that. And I will see you all on June 30th. Thank you so very, very much.
Thanks, everybody.